Hey guys, how you doing, Conde fam? Welcome back to the Millennial Boomer Podcast. It's your host, Jonathan. Look, guys, no big headlines today, just some ranting. Let's get it. All right, guys, look, I wanna start off with a memoir of mine, right? A little time when I was younger. And it was this conversation that I had with my father. Okay, and throughout my younger years, my dad has given me many life lessons, and this is one of those moments where I'm sure your parents hopefully have given you life lessons, hopefully have taught you a thing or two about life, about living, right? About dealing with people, dealing with bullshit, dealing with all sorts of things that life throws at you. So this was one of those moments, and I think I was maybe my late teens, right? And I had to sit down with my dad, and I don't remember exactly word for word and the exact situation, but it was something around the time when he was sharing with me why he decided to just go with whatever situation, unfortunate situation that he was going through, and he could have come out of this situation if he were to just lie at the moment, right? If he were to say and tweak a couple of things and lie, then, he would have been out of this unfortunate situation that he was going. So here I am, right? Like maybe 18, 19 years old. And I asked him, I said, Dad, look, how come you didn't just lie at that moment, right? Like it would have been totally fine to lie at that specific moment that he was talking about because it would have netted him a better outcome. And he gave me this piece of advice. He said, son, look, we weren't built to lie. All right. When he's saying we, he's talking about the family, right? The raw family, if you will. He said, rather lying, right? He'd rather take the L and live a life that is basically saying, this is who I am. I'm not going to bullshit who I am. And take me as I am or leave me, right? I'm not going to make myself be something a lot more than what I appear to be. And that's how he lived his life, right? And that's how he continues to live his life. He doesn't hype things up. He doesn't twist things. He doesn't change things. He doesn't show you he doesn't speak in like YouTube headlines, right? YouTube titles. He gives you what he is. And he told me this, and the idea was, look, it's basically easier to live a life honestly than to live a life that is continually justifying the lies that you speak. And he said that kind of lifestyle is extremely tiring. Now, I at the time, I was 19, right? So I had an understanding, but definitely as I grew older and I have more years on me now than 19, more and more I realized, how much of that wisdom per se, right? That kind of life lesson of, hey, look, it's better to just be honest and live your life as who you are than to constantly try to adjust and satisfy the people around you and the world that's in front of you, right? Because when you do that, it's going to catch up, and eventually it doesn't suit people like us, right? It's going to get tiring. Now, there are some people, right? This is my opinion. There are some people that are great at lying, right? That are great at making themselves look like something a lot more than what they actually are. And if that is them and they're successful at it and they have no, if whether it's built on, bullshit and lies and hype, whatever you want to call it, and they thrive off of it and there is no remorse, then that's them, right? The point is, that's not me, and that's not my father, and that's not really people in my family. Not maybe to the detriment, right? Maybe to the detriment, but that's who I am, and that's how I've been sort of. If you know me, that's how I sort of live life and perceive and kind of do the things how I do based on this foundation, this principle, like, hey, it's just better to be honest about things than to, build on a lie or build on a bluff or a fluff. All right, so I wanted to share that out there. Like, I don't know who needs to hear that, but look, again, I don't have anything against people that live a life that's built on lies, right? Look, this is America. You want to do that and you're successful, more power to you, man. Do what you got to do, okay? Do what you got to do to survive. So I'm not gonna say too much negative things about people that live that kind of lifestyle, but it just ain't for me. It just ain't for me. And again, even to me, maybe to my detriment. Maybe I should be okay with fudging the numbers or lying a little bit, but it just I never caught on to that. Now look, as you can tell, I'm not really in my element today. All right, it is late. It is currently 4:30 in the morning. I'm sitting on a different chair. I'm not using my headphones, and the reason for all this, a little bit of a different setup for those of you watching on YouTube, is I'm a little tired today. Okay, so originally what I wanted to have done today was I was supposed to bring someone on and we are supposed to have this conversation, but last minute changes, and I really thought about maybe I should just skip this week, because I do try to put content out every Tuesday, right? But if I really don't have any content out, to me, I think I'd rather just skip than to put out garbage, right? And I'm still a believer of that today, but I think I wanted to just take this time not to put out garbage, but maybe be a little bit more honest about how I'm doing, and rant a little bit, if I may. Complain a little bit, okay? Let me let off some steam to the few listeners I got out there. Now look, after this guest had to abruptly cancel on me, what I did want to kind of discuss, and these are some fun things to talk about, right? The southern border problem. Okay, the southern border problem. For those of you that don't know, there is a massive issue that is brewing down in our southern border with South America, right? For some reason, when Trump wasn't, I'm saying this acting like I don't know, but of course I know. When Trump was in office, there was all these headlines about how Trump is putting kids in cages, about how he's tearing families apart, about how he's being such an evil, bad orange man. The southern border problem today is worse than it has ever been, okay? Because there is this news of, hey, the Biden administration may be more relaxed, right, in how they handle migrants. So you have swaths of migrants coming from different parts of South America, right? Honduras, Venezuela, whatever it is. They're leaving their homes for a better life potentially in the United States. But the main problem is the United States has borders. Okay? The United States is a country with borders. Now I know this may shock people, but you can't just walk into the United States and think you can live your life. All right? No, there is a process. There is a process. The United States can only take in an X amount of people legally. All right? Now, that's not a great process. Don't get me wrong. It's a shitty process, but there's still a process. Now, the problem with the southern border, besides people thinking that it's okay to just come to America without any kind of, just walk through the border, besides that issue, another problem is we're having like, I think it was like a 50% increase of unaccompanied children, okay, young teenagers and children coming to the border, unaccompanied, right, without their parents. And the U.S. holds these children in a certain facility, and they process them into another detention facility, right? Some I forgot what it was called, a Health Human Services Center. But the problem with these facilities is A, it's overcrowded, and B, they had reduced their intake because of Corona, right? Because they wanted to do the whole social distancing, 6 feet. But obviously none of that's going to work when you have an overcrowding issue. It was already overcrowded 4 years ago, 8 years ago. Now it's even worse, right? But it's even worse with unaccompanied children. So, as you can tell, I haven't really thought out too much because I just didn't have the time to really think out my thoughts. Believe it or not, guys, when I do a solo podcast, there is a lot of planning that I do behind most topics, right? Not just because I want to make sure I know what the fuck I'm talking about, but I really want to get into a lot more of the core issues, right? Now, I can't give you some real, in-depth thought analysis on this, only because, again, with limited time, this is I don't really have much for you. I don't have that kind of content for you. But again, I'm here today and I'm not going to go deep diving into much. I'm just going to bitch and complain today. All right, I'm going to rant. The southern border problem is ridiculous. And part of the actual issue of the overcrowding, that's a real problem. Another big problem that I have is how the media is completely silent on the issues with the southern border, right? Like they're never saying things like, oh, Biden is also putting kids in cages. Biden's administration is also handling this incorrectly. No. They failed to mention, they absolutely failed to mention anything negative about what the Biden administration is doing. Matter of fact, what the media does, if you've been seeing, is they've been blaming the past administration for all the problems, for the issues of the current situation, which makes absolutely no fucking sense. But again, that's the media being dishonest. That's the people on Twitter, on social media being dishonest. And when I see it, I'm thinking, man, we have, I don't know what's going on with our generation, but we have such a penchant, such a way of thinking where we can block out truth. We can block out objective thinking from our thoughts and continue with dishonesty. And continue with dishonesty about every issue, every news, every little thing we're going to be dishonest about. And the truth is, once one of my favorite radio hosts and someone who I listen to all the time, Charlemagne the God, he once said that the truth, nobody cares about the truth when the lie is more entertaining, right? Nobody cares about the truth when the lie is more entertaining. And that's so true. That's so true in everything that we're seeing today, because nobody likes to talk about the truth. Why? And I'm going to get into a little bit more about why people don't like the truth. But think about that, guys, right? Think about what you see on the news. Think about the interactions you have with just people in general. Why are people more inclined to lie or to fluff or to not give the full truth or to mislead, right? Why is that? Why is that so rampant in today's world, right? Why is it so hard to just come up to whatever person or situation and just be honest about it? Just be fucking honest about it. Why is that? Why are we so, held back on that? Why can't we do that? Let's also say, hey, look, let's also talk about the $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan, because this is another one. Guys, this is another one. Again, there's a lot to speak about the American Rescue Plan, but let's be very honest here, okay? Let's be very honest here and have some common sense for just a half of a second. If you actually read through what the American Rescue Plan has detailed or what's inside, you're going to see that a large chunk of it, large chunks of this bill has nothing, this $1.9 trillion bill has nothing to do with actual coronavirus relief, right? It escapes me how people don't point that out, right? It's only Republicans and conservatives are saying, hey, look, you want to pass a bill about, relief, all right? About COVID pandemic related relief. But within that big relief bubble, you're putting in all sorts of other liberal and democratic agendas in there and using this bill to push through, your political policies and things that you've promised to different people. I'm not going to go into details, right? Because again, I haven't spelled out, I haven't really thought through and going into it. But when I'm just looking at the bill, I'm thankful that a bill was passed. Okay, don't get me wrong. This bill affects my livelihood, right? But at the same time, when I see the dishonesty behind the bill and the dishonesty with all the talk around the bill, okay, about what it actually contains, what it actually funds, maybe some of you guys don't care, right? Maybe look, $1.9 trillion doesn't mean anything to me personally. That America is going to be more in depth and future generations have to pay that off doesn't affect me. I get it. Okay. I'm sort of in the same boat with you, right? In terms of the actual nuances and policies, I get it. But I'm talking about the conversation around the bill. Okay. The conversation around this American Rescue Plan and how it's being propped up as this great thing for COVID relief, which there are elements to the bill that have COVID relief, but there are large chunks of the bill that have absolutely nothing to do with specifically tied to the coronavirus and giving relief to people. Okay, so it's about it's the conversation. It's the language that people use. People don't want to be honest about things. And I also wanted to dab a little bit into about Breonna Taylor. Okay, because I think it was this past week. It was like the 1-year anniversary of her death, was it? And look, if you guys have been following, George Floyd, I'm sure most of you seen the video last year and the protests. Then Breonna Taylor is a name that I'm assuming a lot of the listeners here, my listeners who are Asian American, and if you're in Democrat-run cities, you've heard the name Breonna Taylor, right? And you heard the initial stories that first came out. You heard stories about how she was shot in her sleep, how they had the wrong house, apparently, right? The cops raided the wrong house, had the wrong person. Everything was just a complete mess, and someone died in their sleep. Now, I want to be careful what I say here. What happened to Breonna Taylor was a tragedy. Okay, it should have never happened. But the cause of her happening and the stories and the steps that took to the events of her death wasn't exactly how the media portrayed it initially. Okay, look, again, I really want to go in depth with this one, but I just didn't have time to plan. So this is my rant. This is me complaining about the media again, painting Breonna Taylor as someone who died in her sleep while she was sleeping. All of a sudden, the cops came in and shot her up. That's not what happened, folks. Okay, that's not what happened. What else was a big misconception? They had the wrong house. No, they had the right house, right? It was related to a drug deal about her ex-boyfriend who apparently got packages to her house, but they're not, dating anymore. They're not in relation anymore. So they had the right address, but it's just they had, I don't know, the wrong timing, the wrong info, but they had the right address. There's a lot of misconceptions, and the problem with social media and wokeism and activism that I see is that they will build their coalition. They will build their movements on lies. Okay, they will build things that are good, right? Good causes, right? Issues with police brutality in the Black community. Of course, that needs to change. Of course, that needs reform. That needs to have to be looked at. But you need to look at it with real statistics, with real stories. Okay, with actual facts. You can't look at it with things that are built on lies. Because when you build coalitions and movements on lies, people who see the lies, who see through the bullshit, they won't be part of it. They won't be part of it because it was built on a lie. No matter how just the cause is, some people will say, look, it may be built on a lie, but the overall message is greater. So we're going to hop on top of that, right? We're okay with the greater message, even if the message came out of a lie. Okay, let's talk about just real quick when I think Jessie Smollett. You guys remember that in Chicago? He was an actor. He's an actor, and he's in different TV shows, Empire, different things. And Jessie Smollett, another thing, built on a lie, but the overall narrative is something that we need to speak about, right? The lie was that he got what was he? It was late at night in Chicago, cold as fuck outside. Went to a Subway, and as he was coming out, he got beat up, and it was by two white guys, and they beat his ass up. I think they had MAGA hats on, or that's what he said. And they beat him up, and they said, "This is MAGA country," or something ridiculous, right in the middle of the night in Chicago. That's freezing. The story obviously was complete horseshit. And what was interesting about a lot of the reaction that I saw from that Jessie Smollett bullshit was people saying, hey, look, the story may or may not have been true, but the greater narrative, the greater story about how black people, okay, are being targeted and harassed by people that have MAGA hats on. That is the story. That's the main thing that we have to build upon. We want to get that message across, and we need to fight against that. Now, look, that may be true. That may be true. That may be an issue. People with MAGA hats being racist and, beating up random black folks, that may be happening in some parts of the country back then and today. Okay? I don't know to what extent, because I don't have the numbers. That may be true, and that may be an issue that needs to be spoken. But you can't build that movement, that conversation on a lie. Am I making sense, folks? Am I crazy here? Like, am I the only, I want things to be built. I want the foundation of whatever movement, of whatever thing we're trying to get done, right? Whether it's within the black community or the Asian American community or whatever communities or whatever good thing that people are trying to accomplish, it's got to be built in truth. It's got to be built in honesty. The foundation, the rock, right, has to be, the cornerstone has to be based in reality, in facts, in truth. If it's based on bullshit, if it's based on fluff, made up stories, or stories that are part true but have been altered a little bit and add some MSG onto it just to make more of a sensation, people see right through that. And even if the cause is good, you won't get that many supporters. Matter of fact, you're ruining the good cause because it's built on a lie. It's built on a lie. Now, I'm not saying that the Breonna Taylor case is built on 100% bullshit. That's not, no. There were issues with what the cops did. Okay, shooting, I think it was 32 rounds through the door, was excessive, right? There were problems with that. But a lot of what happened with Breonna Taylor's story, there's a lot of things that were built on, unfortunately, on lies. Now, that doesn't make the death any more or less real, right? She still died, and it was still a terrible thing that happened. But let's speak about the Breonna Taylor case. Let's speak about, certain causes, certain things that happen, certain events that causes, a real pain and real emotion. Let's look at it with objective truth. I know we like to add MSG. We like to sprinkle in MSG to make it more sensational, to get a bigger reaction, to pull in people more. But the problem with doing that, like again, what I said, people will see through it and people will discredit it. All right? You guys remember the whole, hands up, don't shoot? That narrative? That was bullshit. Okay? BLM was founded upon this narrative that there was a black guy who had his hands up and he was shot to death. That just did not happen at all. Okay? I'm not going to say that he shouldn't have died or should. No. I'm just saying the stories and the narrative that you're building upon, if it's based on bullshit, okay, you're going to have a hard time. You're going to have a real hard time getting real support, okay? Getting real recognition. So why am I saying all this, guys? Look, it's like I'm ranting, okay? I'm ranting because and this is, look, maybe it's me. Okay, maybe it's me. Maybe it's my idea of, and this is personal, right? If people were just more honest about things, right? If people were just more objective about things, if people saw the world a little bit more as, 1 + 1 = 2, okay? 1 + 1 never in any given day equals 3. It'll always equal 2. That doesn't mean you have to be narrow-minded. That just means you're basing your actions, your, whatever you do on, hopefully, mostly on reality, on facts, on truth. Okay, and when you come to conclusions of truth or reality and facts, you'll respond to that. All right, so look, I mean, this is, we're in an era, we're living in days where everything needs to be a sensation, right? We're living in a time where everything is in just YouTube headlines or YouTube titles. What do I mean by that? Nothing grabs your attention more than clickbaity things, okay? Look, I'm posting shit up on YouTube as well, okay? I have to be clickbaity to some degree as well. So I get it. But when you operate and when you think and when you react to only just sensation, okay, to only things that just seem so outrageous and that, it just elicits, it just creates, it just pulls in some sort of response due to a sensation, then maybe you have to think, okay, the things that I'm being fed, the things that I'm reading, the things I'm reacting to, maybe some of this stuff needs a double take. Okay, maybe some of this stuff needs a double take. It needs to be reread. And I got to find out more about the facts. Now, the thing is, okay, the thing with facts and the thing with lies, why do we lie? Why do we create bullshit? Why do we create stories and sensation? Maybe some parts of a story was true, but we put in some MSG, like I say, or we put in some more fluff. So now the story only becomes 50% true. Why do we do that? Why do we create things that are sometimes so absurd? And in my conclusion, it's because the truth is sometimes, or almost all the time, very uncomfortable. All right? And that's just what it is. It is very uncomfortable. Okay? It is very uncomfortable to know. All right? It is very uncomfortable to know that the reason why there is tension between Asian American communities and the Black communities, okay, there is tension, let's be honest here. A lot of that tension was built on, racism. Was built on, certain parts of the Asian American community seeing that the Black color of people can represent people of lower class. That's a real thing. That's a real thing Asians need to understand. Like that's something, like colorism is an actual thing that I'm just saying the quiet part out loud. We all know this, okay? And sometimes that translates into, in America, where we may see our fellow Black brothers and sisters as lesser than, okay? Even though we may not say it, the way we act, the way we react towards certain communities, it shows. Okay, let's be honest, folks. Now, at the same time, when there is conflict, a big part of the violent conflict comes from individuals within the Black community. That needs to be addressed. Okay, that's a truth. That's an uncomfortable truth that nobody is talking about today in terms of the conversation against the violence against Asians. Okay, violence against Asians is not coming from an equal distribution on population in America. Let's be honest, folks, it's not. right? It's coming, unfortunately, a overwhelming representation from individuals in the Black community. That's a problem. That's a problem that we need to actually discuss, right? And that's, you calling that out is not being anti-Black. I've said this a billion times before, right? You got to call it out because we want to find what is the root. We want to find what is the root. And once you find the root, you want to get to a solution. But if you want to get to the root, and if you want to get to the solution, then you have to be honest. Okay, you can't just dodge the conversation, the big elephant in the room, and just say, hey, we need to work together. It all sounds nice. And I agree with the sentiment. I agree with what is being said, with solidarity, working together, communities coming together, coalitions. I agree 100% with all that. I need all of that, plus I need some real talk. Okay, I need some real talk between communities. I need to hear, leaders within the Black community saying to people within the Asian American community saying, hey, look, we feel like we feel that there is racism towards us from your communities by A, B, and C instances. Okay? I need to hear that. And I also need to hear Asian American leaders stand up and speak to people within the Black community and say, look, why is it that the overwhelming majority of violent crimes against the Asian American people are Black people? Why is that? All right? And don't blame white supremacy. Okay, the minute you say white supremacy, you're just being lazy. You don't want to get to the root. You don't want to get to the solution. You don't want to speak about uncomfortable truths. The truth is uncomfortable, guys. Okay, the truth is uncomfortable. All right, anti-Blackness within the Asian American community, speaking about that is very uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable for me. I guarantee you, it's uncomfortable for a lot of my Asian American friends. Why? Because there is some truth to it, right? There is truth to it, right? I'm sure speaking about violence against Asian Americans and how it being overwhelmingly from the, people in the Black community, for Black people to speak about it, I'm sure it's going to be very uncomfortable. All right, I'm sure to see the disproportionate numbers, to see the statistics is an extremely uncomfortable truth and an extremely uncomfortable conversation to follow. I get it. But guys, if you want real solutions, if you want to really get to solutions, like actual solutions besides calls for solidarity, then you gotta tackle uncomfortable truths. Nobody likes to. All right? Like nobody likes to speak about things that are too true. Why is that? Because the truth is, when we speak about truths, when we speak about things that are actually real and factual, a lot of times it may paint a negative picture or image or light on ourselves. So why do we lie? Why do we fluff? Why do we prop up bullshit? It's, in my opinion, it's a defense mechanism. We're defending ourselves in a way that's not helpful, in a way that will give us the easy way out. When we lie, certain times we lie because it's the easier thing to do than to be honest, than to be truthful. We run away, we hide because facing the truth may hurt us. And I get it. I understand, right? Sometimes you being truthful means you're going to be losing money. Sometimes you being truthful means that some people that you know, that you love, will get hurt. Okay, will get blamed for. Now, where am I going with this? Guys, we live in times, again, where everything is just being told to us. Everything is being just fed to us, right? In headlines, in sensation, that's not based on reality and that's not based on truth. You have to see that. And I know a lot of, my listeners here, you Asian Americans, the Conde fam, you guys know, okay? I'm not being crazy here. You guys know a lot of bullshit when bullshit is being thrown at you. But what a lot of us Asian Americans, what we're really not good at, okay? Calling out Asian Americans, but we're not really great at speaking up. we're not really great at saying, these are the thoughts that we have, and now I'm going to air them out. We're not really great at that, right? We still keep this idea of, hey, I just want to be, I want to be very proper with everybody. I want to make sure we're good. I want to make sure that nobody blames anything on me, and I'm going to keep certain controversial opinions to myself. And look, I get it, because I'm Korean American. Of course I understand. Of course I understand that culture, and it is a culture thing. Let's be very honest here, guys. And I'm going to say this: not all culture is good culture. I'm not going to speak about other communities' culture, but I will speak about Asian American culture. Okay, there is good and there's the bad. Okay, one of the bads is we're not great at speaking up. We're not great at taking the mantle. We're not great at pushing the envelope, and we're not so hot with being honest openly and being truthful. Okay, so guys, look, that was my rant, right? Take it with a grain of salt. What do I know, right? I'm just a kid born and raised in Flushing, Queens, New York, right? I don't have no college degree. I work at a bar, but I say a lot of shit, and I know a lot of the things that I say, you guys definitely have thought it as well, but you can't say it. And I understand. That's why I'm here. Look, guys, I want to leave you with one thing. And this is something that I've been thinking about more or less, a little bit more in these days, in the past 2 weeks. I wanted to find a way to incorporate a little bit of Bible here and there, right? And some of you guys may be, ooh, no, don't do that, John. I get it, but just a little bit. And I think today is a perfect day where I don't have a lot of shit planned out, where I want to leave you with this passage. And, hopefully it'll speak to all of us. Everyone deceives and flatters and lies. There is no sincerity left. But the Lord will not deal gently with people who act like that. He will destroy those proud liars who say, "We will lie to our heart's content. Our lips are our own. Who can stop us?" The Lord replies, "I will arise and defend the oppressed, the poor, the needy. I will rescue them as they have longed for me to do." The Lord's promise is sure. He speaks no careless word. All he says is purest truth, like silver 7 times refined. Thank you, guys. Listen, this is the Millennial Boomer Podcast. If you enjoy the show, please subscribe, follow to this podcast, and follow the Instagram page at Millennial Boomer _. Also, subscribe, like, and comment on YouTube. Catch you next time.